That's Annie. Sit. Good girl. Nope, sit. So this is Annie, and we're about to head off for a short leash walk. We are just patterning leash walking right now. There's no real expectations for her because we are also trying to deal with her getting comfortable with the gentle leader and teaching her to walk on her left-hand side. The leash is looped over my right-hand wrist, and I've also got a length of it in my left hand because this is how I prefer to walk them. We'll figure out what you guys are most comfortable with. So what I'm looking for her is Annie to walk on my left-hand side. But right now, all we're doing is just patterning the behavior and getting her to understand, yes, a real simple theory. If you pull on the leash, you're not paying attention to me and I'm not going to follow. When you make the leash go loose and there's no tension on it, I'm going to reward you by walking. You get to keep going. How fast or how slow you walk is up to you. This is your walk. So the gentle leader, I always like to start off patterning this because I like to keep it this very nice, clean. If we were out in the city walking, oh, something scared her. She just bounced back behind me for a second. I'm not quite sure why. That's Annie. And we're going to stop for a second because she's pulling, and we're off and walking again. I like using the gentle leader because it gives you the most control with some of the least effort. It puts pressure across the bridge of the nose when they're pulling rather than across their chest and their shoulders, and then really being able to throw their weight in and drag you a little bit more. I'm not really caring right now that she pays a ton of attention to me. This is all about the idea of, first and foremost, when the gentle leader is on your nose, I don't want you to fuss with it. I don't want you to try to paw it off or bite it or chew on it. I just want you to be able to accept that it's there and be okay with it and be happy about it. The second thing we're working on is every time she pulls, we're going to kind of stop and go. She's pulling, I'm stopping, she does something to make the leash go loose, we're walking again. She keeps walking a little behind me, which is not the biggest deal. I'm actually okay with that. I'm hoping that she walks right next to me, but if we don't get that, it's not a big deal. And I think because she's so nose to the grass right now, I might actually start walking her a little bit more on the road, a little bit more away from all those great smells. So she pulled out in front of me again. Yes, that's very nice, and started pulling. So I'm just going to stop, and I was going to wait her out, and she took the attention away, and so we're off and walking again. Oh, and I'm sneaking back into the grass again. So back onto the concrete, so there's a little less smells. Yes, let's go. And she's back behind us next. Annie has a lot of, seems very overstimulated when we're outside on a walk. There's a lot of kind of herky-jerky body language. The tail's really low, not quite tucked up underneath her. She does kind of a lot of darting glances looking around. It just seems like she's really taking in all the smells, and strange sounds might make her jump a little bit. So we're trying to be very patient about this, very steady, very relaxed. My tone is pretty much, I think you just got a good view of my mouth there. Sorry about that. I was pushing hair out of my mouth. But I always try to stay very calm and very relaxed and very loose. She needs my support. She needs my advocate in saying, hey, everything in the environment is great. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. We're out to have a good time and a good walk. And this is how I like to groove. It's very nice. So I would save the gentle leader for an actual training session with me, but I did want you to kind of get a feel for what was going on. I would use the harness right now so that she can just walk wherever. It's not a big deal, and you don't have to fight with everything that's going on. Like, for example, she just tried to paw it off her nose, and now she's going to try to eat it off. Yes, that's a good girl. Let's go. When she stopped doing both of those things, I resumed the walk. Except there's a lot of multitasking going on, because as soon as she starts pulling again, I have to stop because she's no longer being respectful and paying attention to where I am, and we're not having quite as nice of a walk as I'd like. As soon as she makes the leash go loose, we're off and walking again. Oop, and there goes the paw up again, trying to get that gentle leader off her nose. Usually the temper tantrums about the gentle leader, I don't want this on my nose, get this off of me, don't last for very long, a week or 2 weeks, but it can be really frustrating to owners because they're like, my dog is miserable, I'm miserable, we're not having a good walk. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get rid of 90% of those temper tantrums before I hand her off to you. And really, she's over about 90% of them. Most of them come from the fact that she, like I said, she just gets a little spooked by the environment. You can see how she's kind of leaning back in her weight now and the tail's kind of tucked up and under her. That's just her going, I don't know about this. Not sure. I'm happier when Daisy's around. And the leash is loose and she's walking by my side again, so that's great. I'm doing very little. I'm just using whether there is tension or slack on the leash to stop or go. Very red light, green light kind of thing. She pulls, we go red light, we stop. She makes the leash go loose, we start walking again. We reward her by walking. I'm putting the onus, the responsibility on her to pay attention to where I am. I'm not jerking or yanking because when they're out in front pulling you, a lot of times owners will just get into this battle with the dogs where the dog is out front pulling, they jerk them back, and then the dog is off and going again. So the dog literally just waits for you to jerk them back and kind of hurt them and annoy them before you can go off and walking again. So I'm actually putting the responsibility on her. Her understanding of what's going on yet and when we walk and when we don't is a little mixed. She stops, she goes, she fights with the gentle leader, she gets spooked by things in the environment. There's a lot going on her head as soon as we step outside the door. Unlike in the house where she's just kind of distracted by the squirrels and Daisy and her own agenda with toys and whatever else she would like to do. Nope. Yes. So if I wasn't trying to talk to you at the same time, what I would be doing is when she pulls, I would say no and stop. And when she makes the leash go loose, I would say yes and go. And right now, it's a messy walk. It comes, it goes, it moves all over the place, but this is a very basic psychology behind leash walking.